hips to rings or hips to bar, if you're doing one of those drills, stop doing them. They're not gonna help you get on top of the rings nor on top of the bar. And yes, it's good to get your hips high on certain movements because ultimately you need to finish with your hips at the height of the equipment. But by throwing your hips toward the bar, there is a problem. And so that's what we're gonna discuss. First of all, I want you to look at my pictures here. First one, we'll call that a bar. I did it in orange for fun. But the athlete is rolling over the bar, right? You've seen this. This athlete catches really low. We'll consider both of these like worst case scenarios, okay? So the lowest you can catch on the rings is, however far your mobility is, but your upper body has to be rolled over enough that your elbow can be high enough that the ring is beneath your biceps. I know that was wordy. Over here, worst case scenario is the bar, providing you don't chicken wing. The bar will be just beneath your ribs where you can finally get the bar to like suck into your belly. So that would be worst case scenario. Both cases though, your shoulders are higher than the equipment and your hips are low. And yes, ideally, you would want to finish with your hips at the rings or hips at the bar. But therein lies a problem because the drill itself is not going to work. So we'll give this as an example. This is kind of a weird drawing. Just imagine this is an athlete paused in time while they go hips to the bar before they transition. And over here, we have the athlete, and this is not the ground, this is in the air, trying to do a hips to rings. And you can see this with straight legs or bent legs. You see a lot of athletes that do the bent legs, though I don't necessarily recommend that if you're using short straps, but we'll say bent legs floating in the air, rings are at the hips. Now, what happens if this athlete had swung their lower body to go up really fast, right? That's what swinging does. And the upper body is now leaned back. The lower body has more speed than the upper body. And that is a problem, right? We don't want the lower body above the equipment. We want the upper body above the equipment. So from here, and you'll hear a lot of people say this, like, and then do the fastest sit-up of your life. You heard that one? Huh? Fastest sit-up of your life. Okay, here in this position, number one, this is awkward to hold the rings here and be completely horizontal, right? This is a hard position to hold. You're basically using lats, nothing but lats, just pulling back. And from here, if you go to sit up, if you could imagine just the person here, providing they're strong enough to hold this position, they try to sit up over the rings. What happens to the lower body? It goes whoop, like a V up. It just goes flinging up in the air. And so you'll see a lot of athletes will get in this position and then they do what I call falling into the toilet, where it looks like their feet are up here, their body's up here, their head's here, and they just can't get the ring beneath their arm far enough because they can't get their elbow up high enough. And even if they did, their feet are too high. And so the rep doesn't count. So this rings to hips would provide the same sort of situation, except the feet are already swinging. The whole lower body's coming up really fast. Keep in mind, it traveled from way down here to way up here. It caught up with the shoulders. So the lower body is moving faster than the upper body in most cases. If your lower body slows down, well, then maybe you have something there. Okay, over here, the bar muscle up, same situation. If this person's sitting up here, they're going to have to throw their head over, the fastest sit up of their life. And as they throw their head over, what is going to happen with their lower body? It's gonna kick out too. I mean, keep in mind, you're not attached to the ground. You're barely even attached to the bar. So your feet are gonna fling up as if you were in outer space in this position and tried to sit up. You just fold up like a jackknife, right? So that is going to be extremely difficult to get up and over the top. There is a solution. We'll do that in another video. But essentially, if this person's in this position, except, take my handy thing out here, except the position is now, their arms are reaching up this way toward the ring. Draw a ring here. That's a grip. Then they can actually pull and it will affect their upper body. You can't pull your upper body toward the rings, like over the rings, if your hands are at your hips. It's good to have your hips high enough that you can sit up and get over the rings, even for the lowest catch. But if you're pulling here, then you don't have any upper body leverage. So pulling from this position, like a rowing position, pop and throwing your head over and trying to aim the rings for your upper ribs, just underneath your arm, that will pull your shoulders over faster. The bar is a little bit different because the bar doesn't move like the rings do. It doesn't move at all, hopefully. And that's why we teach the bar muscle up differently in the Invictus Gymnastics online program, which you can sign up for anytime. It's cyclical, it keeps going, and I coach you on the Facebook group. This is not one of the positions that we coach. Neither is the old version of this, the one that I just erased. So when you're coaching bar muscle ups, I would recommend considering how to speed up the shoulders when you're learning ring muscle ups, keeping in mind that yes, you should swing to kip, but rings to the hips, no good. You won't even make it to the dip.